Good day, everyone. So today we're going to continue our discussion in chapter 5. So before that, we would like to add a disclaimer. So this presentation contains copyrighted material used under the principles of fair use to educational purposes only. All rights to the original content belong to their respective copyright holders. Okay, so we're going to now apply the Newton's second laws of motion. Okay, so in this chapter, we're going to apply the Newton's first law, the second law, and the frictional forces, and the the dynamics of circular motion, and all of the above. Okay, so we already discussed the in chapter 4 what are those Newton's first law, second law, and third law. And here in this chapter 5, we're going to apply it. Okay. So the first law that we're going to discuss is the Newton's first law of motion. Okay. So using Newton's first law, when forces are in equilibrium, so we discuss what what does equilibrium means. So it means that your particle or system is either at rest or moving with constant velocity. So, of course, it must be in an initial frame of reference, meaning not accelerating frame. So, the essential principle is the Newton's first law states that the net force of an object must be zero for an object. The net force of an object must be zero for an object in equilibrium. Okay. It follows also that the sum of all the components of the force of an object must be zero, and the sum of all the y components of the force of an object must also be zero. Okay, so we have here a guide strategy. Okay. So the first thing we do is to draw a number one is to identify identify the main concept. You must use the Newton's first law. And number two is do the setup. So in setting up, it's best that you draw the sketch of the physical situation. And then number two is to use the free body diagram. Use the free body diagram that we've learned in the previous chapter. Then ask yourself what is the interacting with the object by contact or by in any other way. If the mass is given, use the weight is equal to mg to find the weight. Check that you have only included forces that act on the object. Choose the set of coordinate axes that include them in your free body diagram. Okay. Then you execute to find the components of each force along each of the object's coordinate axes. Set sum of all the components of the force equal to zero. In the separate equation, set the sum of all the y components to zero equal to zero. If there are two more objects, repeat all of the above steps for each object. If the object interact with each other, use the Newton's third law to relate the force they exert on each other. Make sure that you have as many independent equations as the number of unknown quantities. This solve these equations to obtain the variable. Okay. Okay. Let me arrange this first. Okay. Let me arrange this first. So in your book class, there are so many examples, but I cannot give it to you. I cannot answer everything. So I will leave some of you as your exercise. So that's the concept of studying in college. You need to do studies on your own. So you need to be able to study on your own. You should not be dependent on your instructor. Okay. So we have here an example 5.1. This is a one-dimensional equilibrium. So we have a tension in a massless rope. So the problem states that a gymnast with a mass of 50 kilograms suspends herself from a lower end of a hanging rope of a negligible mass. So the upper end of the rope attached to a gymnasium ceiling. So what is the gymnast weight? That's the question A. B. What force, magnitude, and direction does the rope exert on her? And C. What is the tension of the rope? Okay. The first thing we should do here is to draw the free body diagram. Okay. So number one is for the gymnast. Okay. And let's put it here. Number two is for the rope. Okay. Okay. Let's look at the gymnast first. Okay. Let's draw. This is our x and y component. So if you are the gymnast, of course, there is a tension of the rope on the gymnast, of course, acting on you. And also you have also the weight of the gymnast, your weight, which is equal to M, the mass of the gymnast times the acceleration due to gravity. Okay, that's all. Maybe that's all. If you look at the rope, so we have this is Y, this is X. We have the tension. Of course, if you are a rope, you are have a tension of the ceiling on the rope, and also because the gymnast is pulling on you, you have that tension of the gymnast on the rope. Okay. At Newton's third law, we note here that this tension of the gymnast on the rope is equal to the tension of the rope on a gymnast. So this will be our equation one. Okay. Then we're gonna write that the summation of all the forces along y, because along x is equal to 0, but in y we have the tension of r on g plus, this is positive because it's positive y, plus the negative weight of the gymnast. Since this is Newton's first law, we will equate this one into 0. This is for the gymnast. Here, the summation of all the forces along x, automatic 0. This is equal to, so we have here the tension of the ceiling, which is positive because it is pointing upward on the rope, plus the negative of the tension of the gymnast on the rope. This is equal to 0. So this is equal to 0 because this is in equilibrium, the Newton's first law of motion. So these are the steps. So meaning you draw, you set up, you do the free body diagram, you sum of the all the forces along x and y, you get as many equations as you have. Okay. From here, okay, we note that from this one, from equation one, actually, we have a tension of the R on G is equal to the weight of the gymnast is equal to M mass of the gymnast times the gravitational force, gravitational constant. So this is our equation 2. And from here also, the tension of the ceiling on the rope is equal to, this is actually negative. Okay, this is negative is equal to the tension of the G on R. This is our equation 3. So we have three equations. 1, 2, 3. Let's now answer letter A. What is the gymnast weight? Okay, the weight of the gymnast is just equal to the mass of the gymnast times G, so which is equal to 50 kilograms times 9.8 meters per second squared. This is actually 490 Newton. So letter B. So what is the force, what force, magnitude, and direction does the rope exert on her? Okay. What is the magnitude and direction of the tension of the rope on the gymnast? Okay. So the tension of the rope on G is just equal to, from equation 2, is equal to the weight of the gymnast is equal to 490 Newton. So that is the magnitude. This is the magnitude. In terms of direction, we know that it is pointing to the positive y-axis. So positive y-axis. Okay, for letter C, what is the tension of at the top of the rope? So this is actually what is the tension of the ceiling on the rope. Tension of the ceiling on the rope. This is from equation 3 is just equal to the tension of G on R, which is the tension of G on R, or the tension of the gymnast on the rope is just equal to the tension of the rope on G, which is by the Newton's third law of motion. They have the same magnitude, which is, we know that tension of R on G is 490 Newton. Okay, so that's all. So this is how we use the Newton's first law of motion. So in your exam, there might be some weight of the rope. You might add the weight of the rope and the equations. Okay, this is negative. Uh, the, 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 the equations would become different. Okay, this will become tension of G on Earth. The equations will become different if your rope is no longer a negligible mass. Okay, so let's start on another problem here. So this is equilibrium objects connected by a cable or a pulley. Okay, so your firm needs to haul a granite block up a 15-degree slope out of a quarry and to lower the dirt into the quarry to fill the holes. You design a system in which a granite block on a cart with steel wheels, weight 1, including both the block and the cart, is pulled uphill on the steel rails by a dirt-filled bucket, which is the weight 2, including both the dirt and the bucket, that descends vertically into the quarry. This is shown in the figure 5.5a in your right. What must the weight 1 and weight 2 be related in order for the system to move with constant speed? So ignore the friction in the pulley and wheels and ignore the weight of the cable. Okay, so we have a clue here, constant speed, and we have no friction, and ignore the friction. So in say constant speed, what does it say? It is equilibrium. It means you are equilibrium. Your system is equilibrium. And Newton's first law. So let's now calculate this one. Let's now calculate this one. Of course, the first thing first, free body diagrams. Free body diagram number one for the cart. Okay, let's do the cart first. So there's no friction, but there is a normal force. There is a weight force. Okay, this is our y, and this is our x. So we see that there is a tension here, T. Okay. So we have T. Okay. So we can see that for the free body diagram, if we're gonna draw the free body diagram like this, okay, this is our x, this is our y, and so we have our tension. So this is our tension T. We have our normal, and we have our weight here. So of course, since it is being what we call this one, it's inclined. So we have here 15 degrees, angle 15 degrees. Okay. So here, so we have the component along y. This is the weight cosine of 15 degrees because this is the adjacent side, and we have also the weight of sine 15 degrees. Okay. So for the bucket, so if we look at the bucket, this is our y. So of course there is a tension here, T, and the weight 2. So this is weight 1, weight 1, weight 1. Okay. For the cart, a summation of all the forces along x. Along x, we have a tension plus the negative weight 1 sine of 15 degrees. Since this is constant speed, equilibrium, 0, f of y, we have the normal force plus the negative weight 1 cosine of 15 degrees is equal to 0. For the bucket, so we have the summation of all the forces along x, the motion of all the forces along y is equal to the tension plus negative weight 2 is equal to 0. Okay, you can get equations that the tension is equal to uh, the tension is equal to negative weight 1 sine 15 degrees. So our equation 1. We have our normal force is equal to, I mean, this is the weight 2, weight 1 cosine of 15 degrees. So the negative is wala nang negative. Is equation 2. And we have the tension is equal to the weight 2. Okay. So the tension here, class, and the tension here the tension here are just actually equal. So that's the catch of this kind of problem. The tension that because this pulley is idealized pulley. Okay, let's read again. Your firm needs to haul the granite blocks up to the degree slope of the quarry and to lower the dirt into the quarry. It is in a system where granite block and a cart and steel wheels with one is pulled uphill and still leverage with a dirt filled bucket. The descents vertically in the quarry because so wala na him. Basta kay this tension here is equal to the tension there. Okay. So here we can equate from equation 1 and 3, we say that the weight 1 sine of 15 degrees because this tension here are equal. This is equal to the weight 2. So therefore, so because I mean the reason why they are equal, the tension here, because we ignore the friction of the pulley and the wheels, and we ignore also the weight of the cable because the cable is weightless. That's why the tension here and the tension here are equal. Okay, so that's the relationship. So the weight 1 is related to weight 2 by sine of 15 degrees. Another term is that weight 2 is equal to 0.26 because the sine of this one is 0.26 weight 1. Okay, those are the relationship. This are the relationship. So in order for the system to move with constant velocity. So meaning kung na kay weight 1, weight 1 man ni weight 2. Okay. So pila may mong ibutang how much will you put to weight 1 or to weight 2 so that this system will move in constant velocity. Since constant speed, so meaning equilibrium, this is an equilibrium problem, the problem of Newton's first law of motion. Okay, now let's go to the Newton's second law of motion. So in Newton's second law of motions, there are now acceleration. So this is now we are now in dynamics problems. We are now applying the Newton's second law to the object in which the net force is not zero. So these objects are not in equilibrium and hence are accelerating already. So therefore, instead of putting zero here, we're gonna put the mass times acceleration. The same also for the components along x is equal the net force along x is equal to the mass times acceleration along x, and also for the y component. Okay, before we do this, we note that the mass times acceleration does not belong to the free body diagram because they are not a force. Only the force of gravity acts on the fruit. Okay. So the note that a free body diagrams, the correct free body diagram for an accelerating apple is like this. So you put acceleration to the right, you can safely draw acceleration vector to one side of the diagram. So dili pwede na ni mo because this vector does not belong to the free body diagram because the mass times acceleration is not a force. Okay. So the same thing we do the free body diagram, we do the setup, we do the equations. So just like the Newton's first law, but karon na lang, i-apply na nato ang Newton's second law. Okay. So here, muna ang type of problems these are the type of problems Newton's second law of motion. Okay, can you read? Okay. An elevator and its load have a combined mass of 800 kilograms. The elevator is initially moving downward at 10 meters per second. It slows down to a stop with a constant acceleration in a distance of 25 meters per second. 25 meters. What is the tension T in the supporting cable while the elevator is being brought to rest? Okay, so for example, uh, 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 this is the initial y is equal to 0. It is also moving v sub oy is downward, so meaning negative 10 meters per second squared. Then after a distance of 20 meters, meaning y is equal to negative 25 meters, it slows down to a stop, which is v sub x is equal to 0 because of the constant acceleration. So since it stopped, we assume that the acceleration is opposing the motion. Okay, that's our assumption. To calculate the acceleration, we can actually use the kinematics equation. Vx squared minus v sub ox squared is equal to 2 times ax. This is now y minus y sub o. So here your v sub y, 25 meters, your v sub y is equal to 0. Okay, so your acceleration actually here is equal to if you 2y, okay, you can cancel this one. So is equal to negative v sub oy squared over 2 times y. Okay. So here we have negative times 10 meters per second squared over 2 times negative 25 meters. You cancel this negative here. So, acceleration is positive actually. So 10 squared over 2 times. So we have here 2.0 positive 2.00 meters per second squared. That's the acceleration. Okay, let's go now to the problem. Let's do the free body diagram. Okay, let's do the free body diagram for the elevator. Free body diagram for the mm, okay. So let's see. This is our y, this is our x. So we have here the tension. Okay, we have the tension from the cable. We have the weight of the elevator. This is equal to the mass of the elevator times g. Okay. So from the summation of all the forces along y, this is now equal to the tension plus the negative of the weight of the elevator. This is now this is accelerating. So the mass times of the elevator times times the acceleration ay. So that so why not zero? Because our system now is accelerating. Newton's second law of motion. So from here, we have the tension is actually equal to the mass of the elevator times AY plus the mass of the elevator times G. Okay, we can factor out times AY plus G. So we calculated AY already, and the elevator is 800 kilograms times 2.0 plus, so this is equal to, so 800 is equal to 900, 9,440 Newton. So that is the Newton's second law of motion type of problem. So most of the time it involves the motion with constant acceleration, the kinematics equation. So you'd better study this one. Okay. So I have here another problem where we have two objects with the same acceleration. So you push a 100 kilogram food tray through a cafeteria line with a constant net force of 900 Newton, 9 Newton. A tray pushes 0.5 kilogram milk of carton shown in the figure. The tray and the carton slide over a horizontal surface so greasy that the friction can be ignored. So find the acceleration of the tray and the carton and the horizontal force that the tray exerts on the carton. Okay, that's that. Okay, okay, so let's assume that in this direction is our positive x-axis in that direction. Okay, okay, let's draw the free body diagram for the, let's do the tray first. Okay, if you look at the tray, of course, there is the normal force of the tray, there is the weight force of the tray, there is the force that is being applied, and also because of this, there the force of the carton on tray and yeah, force of the tray on the carton. Okay, so that's why it has a force of the carton on the tray because it bumped with the carton. Okay, so the free body diagram, if you do the free body diagram, this is the y, this is x. So we have uh for the tray, so we have normal force of the tray, the weight force of the tray. This is our positive x. So we have force, and we have the force of the C on the carton on the tray. Now, let's do for the carton. The carton. Okay, this is for the carton. If you are the carton, this is your positive x. Of course, this is your y, this is your positive x. Of course, so you are being pushed, force of the tray on the carton, you are being pushed here, this one. You're being pushed, and you have the normal force of the carton, you have the weight force of the carton. I guess that's all. Okay. These are the From here, the summation of all the forces along x, if you look at this one, So this is in the negative axis, this is in the positive. So we have the F plus the negative F, the carton on tray. This is equal to the mass of the tray times the acceleration. So both are now accelerating of the same acceleration. For the Y, I don't know if we're gonna use this Y. Normal force of the tray plus the negative weight of the tray is equal to 0. So Y 0 because it's not accelerating along Y. So for the carton, summation of all the forces along X, we have the force of the tray on C is equal to the mass of the carton times the acceleration is equal to the normal for C plus the negative, the weight of C is equal to 0. Okay, what is the, find the acceleration of the tray and the carton. So we need to find the acceleration. And the horizontal force that the tray exerts on the carton. So it starts for letter A. Let's find the acceleration first. Maybe we're gonna use this. So, but if you look at this one, we have an action-reaction pair. So we have an action-reaction pair here. We have the force of the carton on tray is equal to the force of the tray on the carton. Okay. You can now use the equation. Equation, this one, equation 1. So the force is plus negative, instead of Fc on T is equal to F is equal to this. So we're gonna use this equation, okay, to change this one, the Newton's third law. It will become now F plus the negative F T on C is equal to M T times AX. Since F T on C is just equal to this one, so therefore F, we're gonna transpose this one into the other side and become positive, plus it will become now this one, MC AX. Therefore, we can factor out the acceleration times MT plus MC is equal to F. Okay, we divide both sides by this one, can cancel this one. So our acceleration is just uh, equal to the force, which is 9.0 Newton, over the mass of the tray, which is 1.0 kilogram plus 0.50 kilogram. So we have our acceleration is actually 6.0 meters per second squared. That's the acceleration. That's the both of their acceleration. So now uh let's let's find what is the horizontal force that the tray exerts on the carton. How many the tray exerts on the carton is one. Along this, the tray exerts on the carton. So from this equation here, so we have the F T on C is just equal. So this is for B. Find the horizontal force that tray exerts on the carton is just equal to the mass of the carton times the acceleration. Okay, 0.50 kilogram times 6.0 meters per second squared. So we have 3.0 Newton. Okay, this is our FT on C. This is the answer of letter B. Okay, let's proceed to the frictional forces. So what are the frictional forces? So the frictional forces, if you look at this one, there's a friction between the feet of the caterpillar, if you see the figure, and the surface over which it walks. Because without this friction, the caterpillar could not move or climb over obstacles. So that's the use of the friction, very important principle. So these are the if in doing experiments, so let's have an experiment. So when an object slides, rests or slides on a surface, the friction force is parallel to the surface. So this is actually the direction of the friction force. This one, it's parallel to the surface. So if you look at clearly, if you really look at the the molecules between the block and the floor, okay, the friction between the two surfaces arise from interaction between the molecules on the surface. Because of the molecules on the surface, that's why there's friction. The friction and the normal forces result from interaction between molecules in the block and the floor where the two rough surfaces touch. Okay. So there are two types of friction. Number one, friction force. Number one is the kinetic friction force, where the kinetic friction acts over an object's slides over a surface. Okay. So whenever you're pushing an object and it's sliding towards the surface, the type of friction force that acting on that is the kinetic friction force. And the kinetic friction force is equal to the some constant times the normal force. Okay. We call this constant as the coefficient of kinetic friction. So you have that in your table 5.1, I guess. 5.1. Let's see. This one is table here. You can find that in your book. So different materials, different coefficient of kinetic friction. So again, when you have a system, you push an object and it slides over the surface, then the one that's the friction force that acting on it is the kinetic friction. From the word kinetic, there's a motion. From the word static, which is relatively no motion, when you push an object and it doesn't move, but you already applied a force on it, it remains at rest. So even though it's not moving, there's now already a friction as long as you apply the force on it. The friction is called the static friction force. These are the friction force that acts when there's no relative motion between the objects. The static friction force can vary between 0 and the maximum value. Okay. So so you will uh, you will know this later as we do a conduct of experiment. So say for example you have a box that's box before the box slide, the static friction acts, but once it's okay. Okay, let's answer this one. Okay, we have here in figure one, the box is at rest because there is no applied force. So meaning there is no friction. Okay. The value of the static friction force, by the way, this is the coefficient of static friction. This is the coefficient of static friction. This can vary from 0 up to the maximum value. So since there is no force being applied, so there is no friction yet. However, if you apply the weak force, the box remain at rest, but the static friction is no longer 0. There is now a friction. This is called static friction. But the value of that friction is less than to the constant times the normal force. Is the normal magnitude of the normal force. However, if you applied a stronger force, and that force will make the box just, or at the moment that the box just about to slide, the value of the static friction is equal to the maximum value, which is equal to the mu sub s times n. Okay. When the box is sliding at constant speed, then the kinetic friction now is the one that is acting, which is equal to the kinetic of coefficient of kinetic friction times the normal force. Okay. So with that, let's try a problem. Uh, so suppose you want to move a 500 Newton crate across the level floor. To start the crate moving, you have to pull it 200 Newton horizontal force. Once it starts to move, you keep it moving at a constant velocity with only 200 Newton. So you can see here that in order for the system, for the crate to move, you need to exert a more stronger force compared to maintaining it at a constant velocity. Okay, what are the coefficients of static and kinetic frictions then? Okay, so the- so maybe it's best to draw a free body diagram for both cases. Okay, for so this is our object for the free body diagram for the crate just before it starts to move. Okay, just before it starts to move, we have the normal force, of course. We have the weight force. We have the applied tension. Okay, which is just before it starts to move, we have 230 Newton is being applied. The weight is 500 Newton. And the friction here, actually, because the crate is about to slide, just before it starts to move, is equal to the coefficient of static friction, which is equal to the maximum. For the second, okay, in the second case, the free body diagram for a crate moving at constant speed. So you are now applying a force which is 200 Newton, normal force, the weight force, and since it is already sliding, the force that acts on it is now the kinetic friction force, which is mu sub k times n. This is y, x. This is x and this is y. That's the free body diagram. Okay, for B, the summation of all the forces along X, we can see here that this is equal to the tension plus the negative f of s. Since we're now in constant velocity, first law, therefore this is equal to 0. And for the y, the normal force plus the negative of the weight is equal to 0. Okay. So from here, the tension is just equal to f of s is equal to mu sub s times n, and then the n is just equal to the weight. Therefore, this will be equal to mu sub s times the weight. Since our target variable is this one, the mu sub s, so it implies that from this equation here, mu sub s is now the coefficient of static friction is equal to the tension over the weight, where this is equal to 230 Newton over 500 Newton is equal to 0.46. For letter C, the free body diagram, the summation of all the forces along X is equal to the tension plus F of K is equal to 0, implies that the tension is equal to F of K is equal to the mu sub K times the normal force plus the negative of the weight. The normal force implies that the normal force is equal to the weight. Therefore, this is equal to mu sub K times the weight. So therefore, the mu sub K is equal to the tension times the weight. So in this case, you only have 200 Newton over 500 Newton. So 0.40. 0.40 is the coefficient of static friction. So as expected, the coefficient of kinetic friction is less than the coefficient of static friction because uh, you need to exert more energy to make the crate to move than compared to maintaining it to keep it moving at constant velocity. Okay. So these are based on different materials, for example, uh, here, very important. So whenever it is dry, the static friction between rubber and concrete is 1.0, and the coefficient of kinetic friction 0.8. But if wet, if you look at this one wet, it's almost 0.30. Okay, so you'd be careful in driving in a wet surfaces. Or in rainy season, you need to be careful on riding on rainy seasons. Okay, let's go now to our last topic, which is the dynamics of circular motion. So be sure to pause it and relax a little bit. You take your snack, take your coffee. So this is about the dynamics of circular motion. So we already derived that the centripetal force A, the magnitude of A in this particular case, is equal to V squared over R. Okay. So the net force is also pointing in the direction of the center, which is Newton's second law states that this is equal to the mass times the acceleration. If you find the magnitude of the net force, this is equal to the magnitude of the is equal to the mass times the magnitude of the acceleration. Therefore, this is equal to the mass times v squared over r. Or we can also put this one in the in this particular 4 pi, if pi squared, okay, 4 pi squared r t squared, if I'm not mistaken. Or baliktad, this is 4 pi squared r over t squared. So, so the net force is equal to mv squared over the radius. Okay. So if you have a radius r and you have the magnitude v, the magnitude of the v, which is the speed, so the net force is equal to the mass times the v squared over r. So let's try this one to a problem. Okay, we have a sled of mass of 25 kilogram rest on a horizontal sheet of essentially frictionless ice. It is attached by a 0.5-meter rope to a post set in the ice. Once you give a push, the sled revolves uniformly in a circle around the post. If the sled makes 5 complete revolutions every minute, find find the force F on the on it by the rope. Okay, so first the period is given by this kind of problem. So this is 6.0 seconds per 5 revolution. So meaning uh, the period is 12.0 seconds. Okay. So we are given here uh, R is equal to 5.0 meter. Okay. So if find the force exerted on it by the rope. Let's do the free body diagram for the sled. Let's do the free body diagram for the sled. So if I'm the sled, okay, I'm being pulled, okay. So I have normal force, of course, the weight force, and the tension. The force towards the center. Okay, I'm actually accelerating on this direction. I'm also accelerating in that direction. Okay, so from the Newton's second law, okay, is equal to the F is equal to the mass times the acceleration along X is equal to where X here is equal to A rad is equal to V squared over R, or equal to uh, 4 pi squared R over T squared. Okay, so this is equal to M times 4 pi squared R over T squared. So we're using this because the givens are the period. Okay. So here, from this equation, we can find the force exerted on it by the rope. The force is equal to this. This is the mass times 4 times pi over t squared. So we have the mass, which is 25.0 kilogram times 4 times the pi times 5.0 meter. over 12.0 seconds squared is equal to 3.34.3 Newton. So, by the way, the acceleration is actually equal to 1.37 meters per second squared. Okay, I will leave this example to you. I will this is the end of our lesson for chapter 5. So good luck. See you in the exam.